Hello, everybody. Uh, Given the huge amount of questions that have landed on my in my messenger as well as mailbox, and many of them are repetition of the same question, it's understandable that a lot of people who are keen to pursue some sort of a spiritual path or felt inspired after viewing the podcasts um, have certain basic queries. So instead of answering individually, which is actually not physically possible for me given the volume of mails and messages that I have received, so I decided to pick up individual questions which are common to a lot of people and make small video clips addressing those questions and putting up the clip online, so it's easier for people to check those clips. And the whole idea basically is that uh, instead of asking the same questions, and some of these are actually very simple, very preliminary questions for anybody who's starting on the path to any type of sadhana. So it's easier for them as kind of an online resource where you might be able to access them and see. So, with that brief introduction, these videos will be very small, not more than about maybe 7 to 10 minutes, and most likely they'll be handling about one question at a time, or maybe two, not more than that. So, the first thing that has the first question that has come up many times over since the last few months is with respect to the term Anusthana. Uh, so Anusthana is basically a concentrated effort put towards the sadhana of the deity. It is a smaller version of a more technical term which is used in mantra sadhana of a devata, which is known as Purushcharan. So Anusthana can be done very short duration, longer duration. There's a lot of leeway in how you want to do it, depends on the individual who is doing it. So you may even do an Anusthana for 7 days or 21 days or 40 days or even for 3 months. It's up to you, uh, based on your personal assessment of your lifestyle and your capacity and competency. You decide which is the best one to start with. In general, for somebody who's starting initially in the path, it is perhaps better to start with smaller duration Anushtanas, maybe 7 days or 11 days, something like that, and then slowly move on to something that's a bit larger. This is point number one. Number two, when deciding on, say, you are doing an Anushtana of Hanuman Chalisa or Anushtana of any other deity, it might be. It could be of Ganpati. Ganpati is one of the best deities to start off if you are unsure, what to do. So pick up something that does not require initiation. So instead of waiting for some guru to arrive, pick up something that is more easier to do, doesn't require that kind of initiation. It could be a simple stotra of the deity, and if nothing else is known, take the Ashtottara Nama of a Devata, which is the 108 names of the deity. The simplest Ashtottara Nama. There could be variations of it. If there are some Ashtottara Namas are more or of a more tantric nature, which is better to avoid. But certain deities, Ashtottara Namas, are quite simple, easily available online. If all you need to do is search, you will find them. Pick them up, start doing that, and then if you feel like it, do an Anushtana. Anushtana, you decide if you want to do it for 7 days, if you want to do it for 11 days, if you want to do it for say 40 days, etc. So the starting of the Anushtana has to be a Sankalpa. Sankalpa means basically you make a promise to the deity that I will do such and such sadhana for so many days, uh, to the best of your ability, so that the deity gets pleased. This is the basic gist of the Sankalpa that is done. You can take it in Sanskrit, or you may even start at the initial first stage when you are just starting off sadhana. You may even do it in your own mother tongue. There is not a problem. Later on, there are Sanskrit Sankalpas and other things that will come in, of course, all that is there. But at least At the beginning stage, you take some water in your on the palm of your hand, state this thing that I want to do this sadhana for so many days so that the deity is pleased, and then drop the water on the ground. Now this could be, say, let's take the example of Ganpati Ashtottara Namas. The Ganpati 108 names, you may decide that okay, you will do it 11 times every day, or you will do it 21 times every day. Like this, you will want to continue for 40 days, or maybe 50 days, as per your convenience. Next, after you decide on taking the sankalpa, the important rule is that you have to maintain a minimum count that has to be done every day, and this you will fix right at the beginning. So if you decide to do 11 times, then 11 times every day. If you decide to do 21 times, then 21 times every day, and this will go on till the last day of the sankalpa, when the whole process gets completed. Okay. The third point is restrictions. So initially, the first sankalpa, it is better not to put too many restrictions, but if you are more accomplished as an upasaka, then you might add restrictions of food, restrictions of celibacy, restrictions of, there are people who may put even restrictions of sleeping on the floor during that period. So it's up to you. Initial stages, you don't have to bog yourself down with way too many restrictions which you cannot follow. Instead, focus on completing the parayana, the reading of the text, the reading of the Ashtottara for that period of time. That itself is like a small sort of an accomplishment, and that will help increase your willpower, which will be necessary later on when you go into more higher or more complicated sankalpas of the same devata. So that is point number 2. Point number 3 is for women, during the sankalpa, if you take a 40-day sankalpa, etc., and you have, say, after the 20th day, your periods start, monthly period cycles start. So during the 4 days or 5 days, you do not do the sadhana. That time you do not touch your mala, you need not go into the puja room, etc. After that 4 or 5 days is over, again continue with this sankalpa, continue with this sadhana, and the counting has to be that, say, after the 4 days of gap, from the 5th day, you can start again, say 21, 22, 23, like this. Suppose the cycles, suppose after 20 days of sadhana, the period that started, so those 4 days you skip, and then again you start counting as 21, 22. So those few days in middle which are skipped will not cause any effect in the sadhana. Okay, it is the standard thumb rule to be followed in all cases, at the initial stages specifically. So skip those few days, and then again continue as if there is no break, like that. Apart from that, do not take too complicated an anushthan right at the beginning, because then you will find it difficult to complete, difficult to pull through. Do not understand yourself, what is your capacity. If you are starting, I would recommend initially maybe 11 days or 40 days, but keep the count of something that you can accomplish. In between, there will be obstacles when you do this. Obstacles in the sense, you may feel bored, there will be some other troubles, like it could be anything, some work pressure or this or that, anything may come up. The key thing in a sankalpa and an anushthan is that developing your willpower so that you are able to complete this in spite of any hurdles that come. This willpower eventually will help you into doing higher sadhanas of the deity and generating far more amount of Shakti into your mind and body, integrating and generating the element of Shakti that comes in through sadhanas. So this effectively is the first step in doing any kind of anusthana. Take a sankalpa, decide what you can do, what is doable by you, minimum amount of the anushtana, minimum amount of say japa, or minimum amount of the recitation of the names, Ashtottara Namas, you decide every day, and you decide for how long you want to do. And apart from that, do not put too many restrictions on at the first time, if you're doing it for the first time. Later on, yes, you can add. The more restrictions you add, the more powerful the whole anushthan becomes. The results are also more palpable. That's the thumb rule. But initial stages, do not put too many restrictions. Secondly, after you have completed the anusthana, say 40-day anusthana is done, then ensure that you visit a temple of that deity give spend some time sitting there, make some offerings, flowers, sweets, whatever is there, give it to the, if there's a pujari, then the panditji, then give it to him with your name and gotra and say that give a small puja in your name. Make some offerings in the temple. If possible, feed people who are connected to any kind of sadhana of the deity. If you are unsure of it, then you might want to feed, say for Ganpati, if you are doing Ganesha Anushtanas, etc., you might want to feed people, say if there is a priest in a Ganpati temple, you might want to make an offering to him. Okay, give a coconut, a few, a little bit of, maybe a cloth, a piece of dhoti, some coconut, some money. That's it. Or if not, you might want to feed people, children who are doing Veda Parayana in some, in a Pathshala somewhere in India, wherever it's possible. If that is also not possible, you may want to actually feed little children in any kind of, whether that's a school or something, an educational institute of the underprivileged, because Ganpati has a connection to learning, very strong connection. So if you can feed children, maybe those who are underprivileged, who are studying in some school or somewhere, you speak to them and you can sponsor one of their meals or something like that. Similarly, for other deities, there are other exercises of feeding or bhojanam that becomes important. So this completes your anushthan properly. Okay. So after you do an anushthan, the longer, of course, the longer you do, the more discipline you are able to bring into it, the greater are the changes that you will experience inside you. But in any case, at the beginning, at the first stage, even a small anushthan is fine, because that gives you the confidence that you will be able to do larger anusthans at a later point of time. All right. Namaste.